So now we're going to shift over to our next presentation by Evgeny Klochikhin from Sheeva.AI. He's going to be talking about VLBS, which is basically vehicle location-based services at scale. So I'll hand it over to Evgeny.
Thank you so much, John. Really good to be here, and appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we have coming up here. What I very much enjoyed is the preceding session with Will and Nicholas sharing their point of view on electric vehicle charging and how in-vehicle payments are going to work. And that is exactly where we come in from the perspective of enabling vehicle location-based services at scale as utilizing some of those digital infrastructures out there. So really pushing all of this into the cloud and having this idea of making sure we do not need any roadside equipment or any expensive hardware into the vehicle. So how can we overcome this conundrum to make sure that we can reach those targets that are projected to be $63 billion in 2021, or it is this year? And what we also know from the market analysis is 77% of those in-car payments are going to come for fueling and exactly EV charging, the topic that you have already started discussing today. One of the bigger issues in this game as we start discussing and seeing how we can scale this solution, because I believe this is exactly what Will was just saying in the previous session, is how do you scale all of this and push us into every vehicle out there, essentially, or every connected car at least at that point. And some of the barriers that do exist is, okay, does it require certain expensive vehicle hardware? Especially if we start thinking about if we have to host payments inside the vehicle itself, what does this mean? Do we need to have tokenization? Do we have blockchain on the car? And so on and so forth. Complex integrations. So that is another thing which is really, really difficult to solve, as particularly connecting the OEMs to the service providers. These two parts of the marketplace, they do not naturally talk to each other. There is no direct technological communication between them, which creates a certain barrier out there to enable in-vehicle payments for automatic and contactless user journeys. And then the last piece is it's really difficult to find systems that are production ready and easy to go to enable these types of solutions. So our approach is very different to this. When we sat down and we thought about it, we said, first of all, you have Stripe, you have PayPal, you have a bunch of other payment providers out there who do all of this in the cloud. So they digitize a lot of this payment experiences rather than asking people to swipe their physical credit card and so on. You have Apple Pay, you have Google Play, multiple other solutions that would be using some hardware that we otherwise have in front of us, or a hardware that we drive every day. So this is the idea where we came up with and said, all right, why can't you just have one API coming from the connected vehicle directly connected to the service provider apps, directly connected to the vehicle apps? So why do we need to complicate this whole story of in-vehicle payments from the perspective of the actual activations of the services? Because the issue here is not so much just processing the payment itself, which is by itself has multiple parties and really a complicated journey, but at the same time is actually delivering that service. Because what you care as a driver, you care about the service more than the actual way or kind of the nuts and bolts of how the payment is being processed. You don't really care about this. What you want is you want your fuel, you want your EV charging, you want your parking. That is what you want. And this is where we focus more on the service provider side by enabling the services to them through the vehicle itself and providing this access to new business models and customer loyalty. So the idea here is very simple. The vehicle has a location algorithm inside it, which is precise location up to 2-meter accuracy, which locates the vehicle up to the gas pump level, up to the car wash, up to the electric vehicle charging spot. As Will was talking about the geofence now, it's just the hard piece of this is precise location, reliable location to do this, which is exactly where we focus on. And then as the vehicle arrives at this gas pump number 3 at this BP or Shell gas station, we just activate it by the API. And that is how it works. And then you leave and you receive a receipt by SMS or within the app and so on, because the payment trails already exist inside the app. What you need to automate, you don't need to automate the payment piece itself, because you already downloaded a Shell app or BP app or whatever other app, and you already saved your credit card information there. So the rails already exist. It's just a matter of how you authenticate automatically that driver for the payment and how you process that payment to deliver the service. So the service is more important than anything else, again. So the killer app for connected cards, therefore, is automatic location-based payments. And the point of why it is the killer app is because it does not require any infrastructure on top of it. And the beautiful thing that we found out doing a lot of POCs and a lot of collaborations with the actual service providers is that they're ready to go, because they have the APIs to activate that gas pump. They have the APIs to activate that EV charging station. They have the APIs to activate this parking spot, to activate the payment itself for the parking spot. All of this is ready to go. And then also what we know is that alternative technologies that they tried, RFID and smartphone-based technologies, they're just not working for the solution that will automate, that will create this seamless customer experience. So the OEM case study we focused on, which we wanted to share here, is really this VLBS solutions, utilizing those location-based services to provide low cost in vehicle integration. So really overcoming this hurdle of expensive hardware, using precise geolocation even in urban canyons, and to provide those API integration, automated payments, and data flows as validating them as a way, as a path to scale this in-vehicle payments infrastructure. The architecture by itself is fairly easy of how we approach this problem, and that's where we are really sharing here and looking forward to the feedback from the community, is really just having this precise geolocation on the vehicle, up to 2-meter accuracy, again, reliably in urban canyons in particular. And some of this can be utilized in ADAS systems that already exist out there. It's just not a lot of vehicles with advanced ADAS systems. And then what you need is you just grab location from the vehicle, nothing more, just the location itself. And that goes into the API, and then it connects to the geofence database, which has all of this mapped out. The parking polygons, the gas station polygons, the EV charging polygons, all of this is just polygons on the map as a map overlay. And then using that precise let line from the vehicle into the cloud, defining who it is, who you need to pay to, how much you need to pay, and what is the payment method? That is all, just 4 questions. You solve it, you confirm use case, you process payment, nothing more. So payment authentication is the key here, which is where the new paradigm of vehicle present at a point of sale is what helps. You know, before you had card present, card not present. Now you have vehicle present as a paradigm of payment authentication. This is just the data flow to show here. Essentially, you have the location algorithm inside the vehicle. It goes through the IVI, in-vehicle infotainment system. That can be an app if you want to deliver that experience in the IVI. Then it goes into the cloud. You're low on fuel, low on charging. You have last mile navigation delivered to the nearest and cheapest gas station. And then you deliver the nodes from the car subscription services. You detect the vehicle there. You authenticate the payment. You authorize the payment from the payment API, like PayPal, like Stripe, like MasterCard that Will was presenting. You have fuel company APIs that activate the gas pump. You get the service, and then you settle the payment and invoice. So it's as simple as an API, or as easy as an API. This is just a demo we did with a tier 1. This is exactly, again, delivering some thought on the POC itself that we did with the location demo with a major tier 1 supplier. You have, this is downtown Detroit. White dots is the raw GPS. The blue line is how actually we can output the location. And that is what enables the reliability of the solution without any infrastructure involved. It's fully digital. That's the whole idea of this approach. This is just, again, around Detroit campus Marcius Park. This is a fully dead reckoning solution because parking is something we do not always talk about. But eventually what you have here is you have it under 5-meter accuracy, even inside an indoor garage, when you have full dead reckoning case, which is what our technology delivers from the location perspective, which is a very important piece of another service, which is parking inside structures. So lastly, as we know, a lot of this is very much enabled and activated or accelerated rather by unfortunate situation we have in the world today, which is COVID. I believe 84% of drivers want connected payments, contactless payments, sorry, that will just come out automatically. There is also an element of reduced human interaction. I have not even touched on other use cases such as automatic curbside pickup, automatic drive-through. You don't really need to talk to people if you have the location of the vehicle itself. I arrive at McDonald's, they already know who I am, where I am. They can deliver a burger to me. I don't need to pay because the payment method is already saved. And then what you have is increased customer engagement, which is why the model itself, I want to emphasize this because I did not have a specific slide for this. The money is being made on transactions. The money is not being made on subscription services, which is really hard, and it's more of an opt-in system there. Like, you don't really need to charge a driver for this type of services. The money is being made because the customer engagement is happening, and it's really enterprise clients like BP, like Shell, like ExxonMobil, like all of those. They get the transaction through the system, we get paid, OEM gets paid. So this is how this business model needs to interact because it's all about transactions. It's very hard to make a consumer to pay something on top after they buy the vehicle, which all of us already observed in the market. It's really all about customer engagement. It's all about customer loyalty. It's all about delivering those transactions, making those transactions work. And that is where everyone makes their buck. That is it. Thank you so much for the time here.
Thanks, Evgeny. That's great to hear your perspective, and always great. So in terms of interacting then or connecting with the OEM, then it really is just about getting accurate location data from the vehicle, or is there anything else that you also need from the OEM?
No, you're absolutely correct. It's just the accurate location of the vehicle. Okay. One of the issues there is that accurate location is not always available, especially on all vehicles. And that is what creates some of the, that is where we come in, and we actually have our firmware as a service, like a small library that would utilize some of those sensor data from the CAN bus that would deliver this accurate location, including retrofit. So that any connected car, even going back to 2016, can be enabled with these types of services.
So in order to do a pilot, you're just asking them to install this kind of small library, and then you're able to connect and provide basically a demonstration.
Or sometimes if they already have this existing algorithm, which is high definition location on ADAS system, then nothing even needs to happen. It's like we can grab that location data from the OEM cloud directly. There is nothing, literally, it's such low cost and easy thing to do that is just, sometimes it's just a little too silly not to try. Let me put it this way.
Okay. And then we had this question earlier, which was about how do you actually deal with variability or different drivers, or potentially wanting somebody else to pay? Is that something that also could be sent through API if say someone was a fleet operator instead of an owner? They want to say, hey, we have a variety of different customers in the vehicle. Can we identify who is actually using it at what time?
This is exactly what we're working on with tier ones. Is essentially what you have there is a Netflix-like experience. So you know how you have profiles for different members of your family. Say, my wife can be driving the same car as myself, and I could give it to my friends. So what you do is you authenticate people per trip, not per service, but per trip. When they're driving, that's how you authenticate. That's they select their profile in the IVS system. But also what we have is more of an, it's an opt-out system, meaning that by default, you're paying and you're receiving the notification. If you don't want to pay, you say, oh, no, I'm not paying, or it's my friend driving. So you always have a lot of duplicate systems there to prevent any unnecessary charges and unnecessary disputes. This is all about payment security. And for fleets in particular, one of the bigger applications we have, which is coming from the energy companies. It's not that we came up with this, but energy companies are really particularly interested in fraud prevention. As you might know, with fuel cards in particular, and I think Matt from WEX is here as well in the audience, but essentially one of the issues is because fuel card, it's a physical card, it can be used, you can fuel your own personal vehicle as a commercial driver. So with location and the payment method connected directly to the vehicle, that is being overcome. Because it becomes much more difficult to defraud that system and figure out how to fuel your own personal car, and that is what provides this additional layer, extra layer of fraud prevention and payment security there.
And does this flow down to the merchants in terms of fraud and fraud prevention, or does some of that responsibility land on your company?
So we have that piece in the stack itself. It's just by default included. And then also maybe going back to a little bit of the last things that Will was talking about from MasterCard just before that, about this targeted ads or just-in-time ads as well. As it's not only to facilitate the payment itself, but also as inside the car, you know when the car is low on fuel. So why don't you utilize that information to send push a notification saying, oh, you're within 1 kilometer of that Shell gas station. Why wouldn't you go there, right? Why don't you utilize that opportunity? And the beauty of how we approach it from, again, business model perspective, we do not charge those business customers for those push notifications because it's a push API. We know when the driver is in the geofence. They don't know. So it's a push API. It's not a pull API. And therefore, the beauty of this model is that we will only charge them when transaction actually happens. We don't charge them for the targeted ad itself. We charge them only when transaction actually happens. When they get value, we get value, OEM gets value. So the model is to really a give back, a rebate to the OEM, rather than asking the OEM to pay something and figure out something with the subscription services, which is, again, as we know, there are multiple problems around this, especially from the consumer perspective, to market all of this to consumers and make them pay. So instead of doing that, let us just push on the transaction side. There is value created, so that's when everyone starts to pay, and that's where the rebate, the give back model works for the OEMs, and the OEMs don't need to figure that out.
Yeah. So this is a way that they can also look at monetizing some of that additional data. So for example, if you can work just on GPS location, but if they actually provided you fuel tank level, you could actually manage the notifications and the engagement with the end customer to kind of push the value so that they can actually monetize those actually directly through transaction. Like, my fuel level's low, let them know when, let the customer know, and those transactions, those dollars can then flow that way.
That's exactly right. Because I would suggest that looking into the connected vehicle space and connected services, it has kind of never been a problem of customer adoption. It has been a problem of awareness, kind of telling people that, all right, you actually have this feature inside your car. It has been some of that issue, but the fact is the main issue is really in the customer engagement piece. So how do you actually continue? Like, do I care when I need to change my oil next time? Which is something that would be delivered today easily. Yeah. So the point being is it's really all about customer engagement. It's all about delivering those location-based services. And one more thing I'll add to this is, remember the revolution when all of us just threw away the Motorola Razr phones because they didn't have GPS? All of us switched to smartphones. Come on, this is exactly the same that's happening in connected cars. It's vehicle location-based services, VLBS. It's the same revolutions that's happening now because it's really utilizing the vehicle. Every car has to be VLBS enabled. And we believe that yes, we're starting this movement, but we believe that everyone is going to come on board as a market. Yes. That's where the market is driving. We're not talking that, oh, we're the only solution. No, we're saying there are multiple solutions out there. Let's just create an open-ended, standardized system, which is as easy as an API. That's the whole model there.
Great. Thanks, Evgeny. This was very, very insightful, and we appreciate you spending the time.